I love this war. I do. I love this war. How can I not? For I love my people. I love my country. I love my sacred blood. And how could we have ever risen to our place in the galaxy without this wonderful war? Without oceans of enriching gore quenching the thirst of our mountains? Without the sight of the monstrous refuse of this planet begging for but a single breath betwixt our crushing hands? Some of you will remember when they first came to us, sneering at the mere hill folk we admittedly still were. The age of great alliances, they called it. Who had a care for the Swiss then? We were nothing but a mole in the harbour of history, a fine slave to watch the bags while the nobles played their games. Every one of you listening to this today, you knew your destiny, even then. And those not yet born, you would have, my children. Every true Swiss knew that the demise of Europe was nigh, and that above all one nation would triumph. I said one nation, not some club of withered empires or backstabbing cabals of upstart tyrants. No, one nation. The only nation that acts and fights with a single thread of destiny to guide them. The highest nation. The oldest nation. The greatest nation. The nation our benefactors chose above all others in their divine reason. Yes, even then we all felt it, brothers. When we gutted the French on the right, we felt it. When we impaled the Italians on our left, we felt it. When came to the center the host of the world, Japanese, Chinese, American, and the slaves of all the empires, we felt our ancestors roar with joy with every crack of the automatic gun. I can hardly bear to think of the glories we earned on those stenciled hills of unthinkable victories. I shudder to recall the awakening of the Swiss race beneath those hails of shells, shaking the mountains, sounding the timeless alarm of our coming. Yes, it was like no other fight there had ever been. Everyone loved this war as I do now, from those very first moments. An enemy badge for every child to stamp, an enemy flag for every business to immolate, an enemy corpse for every household to flay. Spoils of battles in which bullets glanced from our masterful forms like flies against a hull. Their great war was great indeed, for us and us alone. So what does a coward do when facing such a steep climb to victory? They cheat. They leave honor like a stinking rag plowed into the dirt with their dead. They look upon our mountain fortress and see that there is only one route, not blocked by the chosen people or the ancient stone pestle that bore them. The sky. Balloons, overwrought balloons they sent at us, callously littering our valleys with bombs, killing not soldiers but innocents, destroying not forts but flowers. What ends would they not go to? We knew then that it would have to be our people that formed the great shield wall in the sky, like the warriors of ancient Sparta. Atop their shoulders we stood, building flying machines of unheard of finesse, operated by, to begin with, the Great Nine. Myself and 8 others felt the joy of ultimate freedom, seeing our glorious land from above like it was a painting by an unmatched master. And up there we rattled the cowards with thundering gunfire, and proved to the great watchers that we will not tolerate hideous insects to sully our blood and soil. But we were not the only heroes. What of the miners who delved for our salvation? What of the machinists who forged our salvation? What of the mighty people that weathered and rebuilt day and night to maintain the dignity of our ancient state, never missing a prayer, never seeking an excuse to not take up their ordained weight? Yes, it was all of you who truly brought our salvation in those darkened days. I remember seeing an entire fleet of aircraft for the first time, fanning out behind my tail like the wings of a divine storm. What a sight it must have been from below. What a sight it must have been for the vile invader. The mountain had taken flight. And what did they do, seeing the pages of history closing on them? They stooped to shameless imitation. Who invented the flying machines first? It was us. Then those foreign dogs killed themselves in droves just to take a look at our designs, at last gathering a glimpse in their miry racial memory sufficient to attempt our feats themselves. They were numerous, yes, but no good. Uncultured and boorish machines, flying because our hostage air had no choice but to hold them, never because it was deserved. Their only merit was their animalistic stupidity to come at us without thought for their lives. We all remember it, don't we? How we would shoot down 100 invaders and see 200 more simply fill their places in the order of battle. The rivers were clogged with fallen metal, the hillsides stained with the blood of child pilots, from which grew delicate white flowers, the funerary bouquets of the people who had already been passed over by the Great Ones. As it was in those moments of daily battle in the air that our galactic destiny finally became clear to our benefactors. The light was unbearable, wasn't it? Their craft, impossible to discern through the endless tiers, raced through our sacred valleys like seeds on a cosmic wind, and wherever they landed grew stalks that stretched to the center of our galaxy, to the realm we were destined to command. Toblerone. So far, so close to our hearts. 1,000 years of prayer summoned these ethereal arbiters of justice, and showed them what foul malice we had been subjected to, and were still subjected to, our valiance due to be crushed by uncaring brutes, the causes far below our noble minds. Perhaps, on Toblerone, they had once seen such injustice. What stirred in their boundless hearts we cannot truly know. Not yet. From then on, we knew what to do. We knew what the Toblerone generously allowed us to know. A test, perhaps, to see if we could use that knowledge to satisfy their lust for the blood of the unworthy. How the engines we saw in their visions roared, how the guns we crafted through their love shredded, how the new metal machines, extensions of our own untapped bodies, turned those skies into wound-up cloisters of crashing, smoking, quivering planes. Who could stop a Swiss pilot with the power of the gods in his hands? No one. Nothing but the gods themselves. But the Toblerone were too enthralled in their delight to think of harming their children. They knew they had made the right choice. That was the one thing we already knew, that they didn't. Switzerland might as well have been as tall as the highest cloud. We were indomitable. We emerged so close to victory, ready to be vaunted as the champions in the international war. But the malignancy of the lesser men still festered around our feet. They had not yet thrown off their taste for humiliation and defeat, and so more came, now under different banners, now spouting different lies, always imitating, always praying for the Great Ones to bless them as well. Simply impossible. They could not see it. Yet it is never a sin to kill the blind, for the charitable betterment of the trailing races. They ensnared us with their slithering advance, slinking in all directions, a circling bluff in the face of impossible odds. Did they believe we would surrender? Surrender? I don't... When did they decide that was an option? They must have thought us as low as them. Folly! Yes, that was Spain, wasn't it? That was their banner. They came and went. A wise choice on their part, although as I understand it, they still ended up dead. Justice always catches up, eh? I laugh, my children and brothers, because that was the time of fun and games. It was only after that things became a little more serious. Brushing those decades of war from our jackets, we opened our ears to the will of the Great Ones. Their will was entwined with ours, to have the finest of our planet ascend to godhood. This was when they first made themselves known to the, shall we say, slower races. What did the perfidious Franks think of the voice of God telling them they were to be left behind? What did the ravenous Prussians do to quell the anger they must have felt? Italian, Anglo, Russian, they all came by, didn't they? Came to pay their respects at our borders, staring at the smoking bodies in the shell holes on their side, and the fertile hills of ours. For the weak, it was defeat. For the strong, it was cause for war. Yes, they had some viv, those lesser races, or some of them did. They sought to get the attention of noble Toblerone, warring and killing, overthrowing their masters, and submitting their aging nation-states to the simple order of might that defines our galaxy. Soon enough, everyone was praying to our protectors, begging to be granted even a morsel of our power or our opportunity, a merest glimpse of the road that we travel, raising up into the furthest corners of the darkening sky. It was a show we all enjoyed watching while we dug. While we dug and tunneled and piped and wired and mined and sweated and bled and grew stronger, stronger, stronger in our secret palaces of rock, we had to be ready for the time of reckoning. For those outside it was already too late. T-Day, the day on which the Grand Fleet arrived and scoured the very earth wherever the unworthy trod. The scent of weak blood clogged the winds, still bearing the warmth of those titanic firebombs from another time and space. Without a speck of mercy, our alien brethren purged, as they should, as they did, as we rejoiced for. Does anyone know a Swissman who was taken in those days? Nay, scarcely any know a Swissman who has perished by any force of man or nature at all. A rare privilege it is to see a brother ascend. A privilege you brave soldiers will be granted, in time, in good time. It is true that we don't know what our masters did with the bodies they took in those days, alive or dead. What place have we to know? The bodies were theirs to dispose of, for it was our bodies, Swiss bodies, that had earned their place in the galaxy. However, we are not subject to beasts of pure tyranny, are we? Of course, they were willing to listen to those lesser beings beyond the mountains, and entertain the possibility that they might have some redeeming qualities. The Toblerone knew what they wanted to see, of course, and so the rules were set. Earth would be spared if they could seize us. 5 million Swiss against billions of death row creatures. It was a test. This is our test. a test we embrace like a child, a test we relish like the finest wine, a test we shall triumph over as the great eagle soars above the Matterhorn, endless in ambition, unmoving in commitment, everlasting in zeal. Our destiny set in stone, and that stone guarded behind an impregnable labyrinth of kill zones. Nay, not kill zones, altars to our victory. Oh, I can hardly contain my jealousy, brothers, that you should be there on those holy lines, while I am made to sit and oversee the game like an old man. Well, I suppose I am an old man, aren't I? But am I a weak man? You know the answer already as much as you know it for yourself. My role now is to communicate to you the enormity of our task, and indeed, its ease. The Toblerone are watching. They watch, they score, they pick and choose their favorites down to the privates, down to the bullets, down to the droplets of blood soaring through the air. They love this war with passion we cannot hope to achieve until we have ascended. They love this war more than me. And my children, I love this war too much to put into mere words, impure words, unfinished words. I must have more. We must have more. The spoils of our cosmic victory are the only hope to even begin to grasp our own greatness. That is what our ancestors beg of us. That is what I humbly ask of all you. To fight, to face death, to prevail, and make no mistake in thinking that succumbing to death is not to prevail in these final days. The Toblerone will know your courage and spirit all the same, and love you all the more. Now I find myself envying our glorious dead. What a marvelous time we find ourselves in. The Victory War, the Earth War, the Swiss War, our lifeline to the end of time. You can hear them mustering, their boots shaking the ground with their endless numbers, their vehicles belching out smoke that clogs the lungs of the world, their planes scouring the sky for fleeting glories that our boys up there just keep on snatching away from them. I say to them, and to you, and to our cosmic overseers, let the games begin. And as the bullets fly and shells burst, rejoice, my companions in arms, for we are here to show our love for power, our love for ourselves, our love for this sweet, sweet war. The battles will be long and quenching, the nights will be loud and bright, the days cloying and bloody. The life we lead now, it shall be the envy of unlimited generations who hear of these few days, and you few soldiers who conquered them. My masters, my children, my brothers, my disciples, now is the time. Words fail to enlighten further, and battle calls. So I send you off with tears in my eyes and heart aglow, for we love this country, we love our race, and we love this war.
Get that speaker off, Private. The Unchosen are coming. Report to your sections and have no mercy. For the love of the Great Ones, for the love of the Great War.